Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Veg Grower Podcast. My name's Richard and I want to encourage and inspire you to grow more of your own food in whatever space you have available. And I do this by showing exactly what I've been up to on my own allotment and my own kitchen garden. Calling on my experience of over 30 years of growing my own food, but I still learn something new every single day. Now, coming up this week, I've been running an interesting experiment down on the allotment, while at the same time looking at the health of my soil. Back at home, we have got the seed of the month, and back in the potting shed, I'm going to talk to you about the use of wood ash in the garden. So, without much ado, let's get into it. Well, I'm down on the allotment now, and you may notice it's a bit quiet in the background. You can't hear the noise from the passing cars. You probably hear a bit of a wind, but that's to be expected. Now, there's a very good reason why it is so quiet, and that's because it's actually late at night when I'm down on the allotment at the moment. This week I've been running a bit of an experiment in that I have been visiting the allotment on my way home from work and just doing a bit of work under flashlight, using a torch to see what I'm doing. Now, the reason for this is that I do enjoy visiting my allotment on the way home from work, and I find it's a good way of really keeping an allotment in control. But unfortunately, with the recent change in clock, and as we head into the winter months, it is dark when we come home from work, which has meant that I felt it was too dark to do anything on the allotment. But I thought I'd give it a go. I thought I would give it a go this week and see just what I could do under flashlight. In all honesty, not worth doing. It wasn't easy. I mean, we could do it, but I was constantly holding a torch to try and pull out things like weeds, which meant I was doing a lot of tasks one-handed. And that was a little bit annoying. I did use a head torch at one point, which was a bit easier. I could use both hands, but I can't say I particularly enjoyed working on the allotment. And in all honesty, there's not a huge amount to do on the allotment. Everything is just ticking over nicely. We don't grow that much here over winter, apart from our overwinter crops that tend to look after themselves. A lot of the stuff that we grow over winter is grown at home. So reducing the amount of work that I have to do on the allotment over the winter months is absolutely fine. What this means is that I need to save some of the bigger jobs for the weekends, and that's fine. I think that is going to work out quite well with my allotment over this winter. As an experiment, I think it's safe to say we will not be working under flashlight. It's just not practical. However, I know quite a few people will do it and probably disagree with me. One of the things I have noticed is the condition of my soil. Now, this is an interesting conversation that I've been having a lot lately. I often talk a lot about adding compost and mulches to the soil and looking after the soil, but I've never really gone into why I focus so much on looking after the soil. And that's because I believe that looking after the soil is the most important thing that we can do in order to grow vegetables. Now, when I talk about looking after the soil, what we mean is that we're adding organic matter. We're adding organic matter that adds life to the soil. It adds vitamins and minerals that the soil needs, and it just boosts the life in the soil. And one of the things that's become quite apparent to me this week is the amount of mycorrhizal fungi I'm actually seeing in my soil. Now, mycorrhizal fungi is a type of fungi. It's a mycelium network that allows, as I understand it, I could be wrong on this, but as I understand it, it allows plants to communicate with each other. If you think of it like the internet in the soil, all these plants can communicate with each other thanks to this mycorrhizal fungi. And when we see it in our soil, it's a good sign. It proves that our soil is in good condition. It proves that there is life in our soil. For me, other signs that I like to see that proves our soil is in good condition. One, of course, good organic matter content. But two, when we see lots of worms in the soil. That, for me, is a really pleasing sign that we have lots of life. Now, this is one of those phrases you often hear, is that we feed the soil, not the plant. And there's a very good reason for that. The plant is growing in the soil. Its roots are growing in that soil to seek out all those nutrients and minerals that it needs to grow. When we talk about feeding our plants, we're completely missing the point, because the plant needs all those nutrients in the soil so that its roots can find it. And this is why I think it is so important to look after the soil, to improve our soil and to improve our growing conditions. Often you will hear many experienced, well-known gardeners talk about the key to gardening is about good soil. How we achieve this, of course, as I said, adding organic matter, adding compost, adding mulches, leaf mould, straw, anything that the worms can use to take down into the soil. Also using green manures and things like that that help protect the soil and add a lot of nutrients to it. Over the winter months, what tends to happen, we get quite a bit of rain, and the rain will come along, and if there's no roots or anything to hold that soil together, the soil can actually get washed out. And this is often why we get landslides in areas where trees and other plants have been ripped down, because the roots are not there to hold the soil in place. It's such an important thing, and it's something that I strive to do all the time. Improve the soil, improve our vegetable gardening. So for me, seeing his mycorrhizal fungi has been a really good sign. Now, in terms of what I've been trying to do on the allotment under flashlight this week, I have been doing basically a bit of weeding, a bit of mulching, just general all-round care, harvesting what we have available. Believe it or not, we're still harvesting tomatoes and chilies and aubergines outside, but many of those are starting to move indoors where we can hopefully prolong the length of harvesting. But as always, we're getting really good harvests at the moment. We're continuing to get good harvests as late as we are in the year. I can't believe we are the first weekend in November and we're still harvesting tomatoes outside. We haven't had a frost as of yet, but I don't think it'll be long. Anyway, that is what's been going on here on the allotment. It's been an interesting experiment, but it is now time to head on home. So come meet me in the shed at home where we're going to talk about our seed of the month. It's that time where I'm going to ask you for a couple of favours. Firstly, if you would be good enough to please leave us a rate and review on your podcast provider, it really helps. Only takes you a few seconds, but it means that more people are likely to find us when they are looking for podcasts or if they want to learn how to grow their own food. So please rate and review. Only takes a few seconds. Added to that, if you enjoy this podcast, you want to help support the work that we do and keep this podcast running, then please consider becoming a member of the Veg Grower Podcast Supporters Club. For just £5 a month it costs to be a member. You get access to extra behind the scenes podcasts that give you a bit of an idea what's going on here at the Veg Grower Podcast HQ. Added to that, once a month you also receive our monthly seed pack, and in that seed pack you get a copy of our mini newspaper which gives you a few ideas of what you can do throughout the month and instructions on how to grow the seeds that are also included inside the seed pack, because every month that you are a member you will get a collection of seeds that can be sown in that very month. Now, over this last week we haven't actually been sowing any of the seeds because we finished sowing off all of October's seeds, and I've spent this weekend just doing the final preparations and getting November's seeds into the post. But throughout November the seeds that we are sending out include forage rye, a type of green manure, pak choi, a Chinese brassica, mint as our herb of the month. We got pea meteor that we're going to be sowing this month. We've also got cress, a microgreen we're going to grow indoors, and sweet pepper that we can grow in our heated propagators. If that is something you would be interested in, then please head to the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk to find out more. We would absolutely love to have you there. Right, with that, it is back to the gardening. Well, I'm back home now and I'm in my potting shed. I'm here because it is time to sow our seed of the month. Something a little different this month because, well, this seed is not very easy to get hold of. Normally when I share with you my seed of the month, I get them from my preferred seed supplier, my favourite seed supplier, which is, of course, Premier Seeds Direct. However, they don't seem to be selling this particular seed this month. But don't fear, I have found them on other suppliers, which of course you will find the links to in the blog post for this week's episode. So what is the seed of the month this month? Well, it's something a little bit different. It's called winter purslane, otherwise known as Claytonia or miner's lettuce. It's actually one of my favourite hardy salad crops for growing throughout the colder months. Brilliant way to keep the garden producing when most things have stopped growing. Now, winter purslane is a small leafy plant with a soft, almost succulent leaf that tastes mild and refreshing. Bit of a mix between lettuce and spinach, packed full of vitamin C, which makes it a great thing to keep the winter sniffles at bay. What I really like about it is how easy it is to grow. You can sow it almost anywhere, directly into the ground, in trays, pots, or even a window box. It's happy in cooler temperatures and actually prefers the shorter days, which makes it ideal for growing through the winter months. Now, to sow it, I start with a tray of peat-free compost, scatter the seeds thinly across the surface, and then cover them with a very light sprinkling of compost. They don't like to be buried too deep, so just a very, very light sprinkling. Then I keep the soil moist, not soggy, just moist, and within a week or two, the seedlings start to appear. Now, if you are sowing outdoors or in a cold frame, do the same, but just make sure it's somewhere sheltered. Winter purslane doesn't mind the cold, but harsh frosts can slow it down. So a bit of fleece protection really can help. Then once it's up and growing, you can treat it as a cut and come again crop. Just snip the leaves while they are young and it will keep producing new growth all winter long. It's one of those crops that really quietly keeps the salad bowl full when everything else has finished, and it really helps keep that sense of life in the garden throughout the darker months. So if you are looking for something new to try this month, give winter purslane a go. It's low effort delicious and it adds a splash of green to the winter garden when you need it the most. Absolutely delicious, like I say. Now, of course, I like to share with you what's been going on here in the kitchen garden. And I'm still amazed with just how much food we are harvesting from the kitchen garden still. The beds are still really, really full. I've already spoken about how we're getting tomatoes and things from the allotment, but the kitchen garden is just continually bringing us in lots and lots of food. Tomatoes, chilies, aubergines, all the usual stuff that I've been talking about from the allotment. But here we're getting kale, broccoli, cabbages, peas. Absolutely amazing amount. And there's absolutely no signs that it's looking to slow down. I've got nasturtiums still growing, are covering entire beds here at home. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted with it. It is looking a little bit messy, if I'm honest with you, because everything looks overgrown, because everything is just still so rampantly, like the nasturtiums or the dahlias. Everything is just growing so mad, like crazy. It looks very overgrown. But I'm not complaining in the slightest. We have had a bit of news this week, however, with regards to the chickens. As you know, I keep several chickens, so we've got 5 chickens now, and obviously we keep them for our eggs, and we're getting plenty of eggs every single day, which is going down really, really well, I have to say. The 2 new chickens haven't laid an egg as of yet, but I don't think it'll be very long until one of them is laying looking at them. But the news is, unfortunately, if you have chickens, you have to register with DEFRA. And this is just so that they can send you alerts when bird flu is rearing its ugly head. And that's certainly the case this week. We have had an email, text message from Defra saying that bird flu has been found in several locations around the UK, including an area not that far from me. I'm not inside the zone at the moment where of concern, but not that far from me. In fact, where my two new chickens came from is in that area. Now, what this means is when we go into these protection zones, when bird flu is around, we have to take precautions to not allow our chickens to mix with wild birds to prevent the spread of bird flu. This has been a real problem in recent years and seems to be getting worse. We've known many chicken farmers or people that sell chickens who have been really struggling and even gone out of business due to bird flu. So it's very, very serious, and it's certainly something that we have to take seriously. So why am I bringing this up? Because we have had this alert, we do have to take precautions and think about how our chickens are going to be. At the moment, I can still let my chickens explore. And if you are in one of those areas, obviously I don't want to rub your nose into it. But if you are in one of those areas that is inside a protection zone, you can't let your chickens out. I have decided that I've placed my chickens into a bit of protection. I've placed the lids over the top to stop any bird droppings landing in my chicken coop. And I've removed any bird feeders from around my chickens, meaning that if the birds do come around, I still want to feed wild birds, of course, but if they do come around, they should be far enough away from my chickens. I'm basically starting to try and take certain measures to ensure my chickens will not catch bird flu. At the moment, I can still let them free range in my garden, but that could change. And I'd like to give them, it's a bit difficult at the moment when I get home from work, but at the weekend, I do like to let my chickens have a bit of room around the garden every now and then to explore and free range. The main reason that we don't let them all the time is, of course, with Roxy, the dog. If Roxy gets hold of a chicken, it won't be around anymore. So we do take measures in that sense, but otherwise, I would let my chickens free range all the time. Obviously, my coop is quite large for 5 chickens, so technically they have enough space to be classed as free range, and I think that is so important. But the point is, I'm starting to think about bird flu and what we can do to prevent my chickens getting ill. In the future, I can see ourselves needing some sort of cleaner, disinfectant on our shoes every time we go in the chicken coop to prevent the spread of disease. Something like Jay's Fluid, which is a very popular disinfectant that has recently re-emerged back on the market. I've got some Jay's Fluid, so that may come into the use. Right, I am going to head on into the podding shed now, and I'm going to talk to you about wood ash because it's very nearly bonfire night. In the meantime, let's find out what's been cooking in the kitchen this week.
Chopping all the veggies, sizzle in the air. Chef's got with the magic, smells are everywhere. Water starts to boil, onions hit the pan. Recipe of the week, let the feast begin. Cooking with Chef Scott, flavors come alive. Tune in every week for a tasty bite.
Now in the kitchen this week, it feels right that we should use the winter purslane that we've just been talking about as our seed of the month. After all, it's no good growing something if we are not going to eat it. Winter purslane is available at the moment. You could probably buy it in a supermarket if you are lucky, but if you've already got some growing, it's absolutely delicious. If you haven't, this gives you something to look forward to when you use your winter purslane. The recipe this week is winter purslane and potato salad with a mustard dressing, and it is absolutely delicious. Now what we do is we take 500 grams of potatoes that we have peeled or scrubbed, remove the skin, and then cut to the size that you would expect to use as salad potatoes. We've put that in a pan of salted water that has been boiling, and then just turned the heat down to a simmer and cooked those potatoes for about 10 to 12 minutes until the potatoes are nice and tender. We then drain those potatoes and just allow them to cool slightly. We're making a salad here, so they don't need to be piping hot. They just need to be on the warm side. While those potatoes cool, it's a good opportunity to make the dressing, which involves putting 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of whole grain mustard, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar or cider vinegar, depending on what you have, and 1 teaspoon of honey in a bowl, and give it a good mix together until that mix is nice and creamy. Add a bit of salt and black pepper to garnish as well. Then we take those potatoes, put them in a large bowl with 1 chopped red onion, pour over that dressing that we just made, mix it all together, and then gently add in the winter purslane leaves right at the end, just to keep them fresh and vibrant. Then we can scatter over a bit chives or parsley just to add a bit of garnish, a bit of flavour as well. And that is it. You can serve this delicious salad. What you find, the winter purslane's got this mild lemony flavour that really balances beautifully with the warmth of the potatoes. And the sharpness of the mustard really helps with the flavour as well. For me, this is just a great way to celebrate seasonal, homegrown greens. Proves that even in the depths of autumn, going into winter, the garden can still put on a healthy salad on the table. Give it a try. Let me know how you get on. Well, I'm back in the potting shed tonight, and I am bringing back a feature that I haven't done for a few months. It's our book of the month. And the reason for this is I've recently purchased a book called Digging for Victory by Twigs Way and Mike Brown. I've picked it up, I've had a quick scan through, and I'm really enjoying it. As you know, I have got a bit of a fascination with learning about the Dig for Victory campaign. I find it a really fascinating part of our history, the way that up and down the country we all had to grow our own food as a way to survive, as a way of helping in the war campaign. I find it absolutely fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to reading this book thoroughly. I will let you know what it's like at the end of the month, but if you are interested, I've added links in the show notes. But one of the key features that I do recall when I've been learning about the Dig for Victory campaign is that nothing was wasted. Everything that could be reused was reused. And this includes wood ash. Now, wood ash is something that I don't know if many people have open fireplaces anymore. We do in this household, so we do produce quite a bit of wood ash because we're trying to be self-sufficient and we're trying to take care of our own heat and bring our heating bills down. That means that all that wood ash that we collect can be used in the garden. Now, you might not have open fireplaces like us, but you might have an allotment that allows bonfires or incinerators that you can burn material on. We're not lucky on our allotment. We're not allowed to do that, which can be a bit of a problem when you get infected plants because you then have to try and dispose of them in a way that's not going to spread disease. When you burn them, they don't spread disease. It kills off the disease. So it's a good idea to burn infected plants and material, wood. Added to that, of course, as well, it is bonfire season. It is around the 5th of November where we celebrate Guy Fawkes Night and Bonfire Night up and down the country. Lots of bonfires will be burning, and all that wood ash should be collected up and used in our gardens. Now, I should say that wood ash is a good source of potassium or potash, which is great for flowering plants, and it is great for the soil. But it does also have a liming effect. This means that it raises the pH in our soil if we use it in large amounts. Now, this can be a good thing. If you've got clubroot in your soil, you can add a load of wood ash to your soil, increase the pH to something like 7.5, and that will stop clubroot from inhibiting your plants. So it has its uses, but at the same time, most plants like a neutral, maybe slightly acidic soil, depending on what the plant is. So sometimes too much wood ash added to the soil can be a bit of a problem. So what can we do when we have all this wood ash? So the first thing that I have to say is that when we collect our wood ash, we tend to store it in a metal tin. that has a lid on it. That means that if there is anything that's still hot, it's not likely to cause a fire or anything like that. It keeps it safe, and it also keeps it dry, because when wood ash gets wet, it very easily leaches out. It can be a very water-soluble element. So keeping it dry is very, very important, unless, of course, you're about to use it. Now, you could just scatter it all over your vegetable beds. At the moment, that's not going to be too much of a problem, because we're going into winter. We're going to get lots of rain. That should sort out the liming effect. But if you're not doing it in huge amounts, it's not going to increase the pH that much. You're going to be checking your soil for pH next year anyway, or I hope you would. You could add it to your compost heap. Again, you want to add it in small amounts. You don't want to throw it in there in large amounts for that same reason. And the compost could come out being incredibly alkaline, and that is not a good thing. However, I do remember watching a program on the Dig for Victory campaign, and it was a professional gardener instructing a young lady on how to look after some of the plants, and that included tomato plants. Now, the gardener had collected all that wood ash in a tin throughout the winter months, and as we were going into the spring, summer, when he wanted his tomatoes to start flowering, he sprinkled all that wood ash around his tomatoes. I was quite amazed at how much he added. It was a real good dusting all around the tomatoes, but again, it was to get that potassium into the soil and into the plants. So that's another thing we could do, just store it until the summer, but just don't use it on anything that doesn't like alkaline soils. Raspberries are a great example of plants that don't like alkaline. Now, wood ash does prevent a few problems. I've already mentioned that too much wood ash could make the soil too alkaline, and that can be a bit of a problem for many, many plants. Most brassicas like alkaline soil, and clubroot, of course, is inhibited by alkaline soil, but most other vegetables are not very keen on alkaline soil. You really want to avoid using ash from treated timber. Now, this could be because it contains potentially harmful residues. Really, you want to dispose of that wood ash in the council refuse. It's also worth noting to avoid applying it to soil where potatoes will be grown the following spring. Alkaline conditions can encourage potato scab. So that's something to think about. Now, you can't use ash from solid fuels such as coal, because that can be a bit of a problem. But ash from lumpwood charcoal in your barbecue, for example, that can be used. But briquettes, not so much. That shouldn't be used. Just a couple of things to finish off with. But if you have got open fires or bonfires, get some of that ash. Use it in your garden. If you follow this guide, it should help your garden in the future. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. We're coming to the end. If you have enjoyed this podcast, then please rate and review on your podcast provider. It only takes you a few seconds, but it means the world to us. Haven't got any reviews to read to you this week, but never mind. We're coming into that season when it does drop off. I expect it. If you have enjoyed this podcast, then please consider becoming a member of the Veg Grower Podcast Supporters Club. Just £5 a month gives you access to extra things, including every month you get a collection of seeds. Details on that at theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, which is of course our website. While you're on our website, you can of course leave us a comment on the bottom of a blog post, or you can leave us a voicemail which will be played in the podcast in the future. You can of course email me, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, and of course you can find me on social media. Please do give us a follow and a subscribe and all that jazz. We will be back again next time, so until then, please take care.